I figured I'd make a video quickly showcasing all 6 different Emberlight cycles for the Nofly. I'm going to assume that you've already watched Kirby's 3-tick Emberlight guide, as that covers the theory behind this method and what makes it possible. While Kirby's video is comprehensive, for some people it's a bit too meaty. I prefer to simplify. The key to a successful Nofly is being able to consistently get into cycle at the start of P3. Therefore, having experienced donoflying will be a good starting point. Also, I'm not going to include any tick filling with Scythe, as the purpose of this video is for you to have a shorthand video to reference back to whenever you're learning the basics of the cycle. In total, there are 6 different cycles, but I prefer to think of them as 3 different ones. I will list them as cycles 1 through 6, and use the same names as Kirby if you want to cross-reference to his video. I would recommend practicing in a solo first, just by punching the boss or using a very weak 4-tick weapon, just to get enough practice time in to get a feel for the method. Similar to the donofly, depending on where you spawn into P3, and when, in a duo, will dictate which cycle you start off in. Assuming P3 starts with you, if you're within a 3-tick range of Yama, which is when you wouldn't delay going into the donofly, you are certain to start with cycle 1 or 2. There are 2 different ways of dealing with cycle 1. I'm going to show them as solve A and solve B. Moving on to cycles 3 and 4, these will never be your first cycle unless you don't manage to get a hit in before Yama's first attack, which usually happens if you're in a duo and you spawn late into P3. It's important to note where the stall in your movement happens in these cycles. The stall is necessary to dodge the first fireball and shadow crash. For the horizontal variant, you swing, then move back and stall, and then continue. For the vertical variant, you swing, you stall on the swing tile, and then you move back and continue with your movement. Lastly, cycles 5 and 6. If P3 starts with you, and you're within a 2-tick range of Yama, you are automatically put into cycle 5 or 6, which is when you'd have to delay a tick before starting to donofly. Cycle 5 will be played out similarly to cycle 1. Because there is no safe spot for you to attack the boss, your first hit is lost. In other words, you lose the tick you'd initially hit on, and you just play it out as if it's cycle 1. Cycle 6 is what you want. It fully utilizes the speed up mechanic of Yama's shadow crash, and can safely do so without losing ticks, as you can swing at the boss without getting hit by the first shadow crash. Assuming that you started off with either cycle 1, 2 or 5, 6, your second cycle will always be either 5 or 6, which is why the ultra god cycle, the one where you get cycle 6 2 times in a row, is possible. From there on out, depending on how quickly you deal with the flares and how you decide to get back into cycle, will decide what your next cycle is going to be. Meaning, for the third set of fireballs, you will have to notice your timing and react accordingly.